Hey everyone, Ifelichi here with a first look at the Forest Cup. I did an unranked, because it's not May yet, tournament of the Forest Cup from one of my local discords, and did very well in it. And so I figured I would share it with everyone. So the Forest Cup is the Sylph Arena's newest I guess, rule set. It's for the month of May, and you can use fire, water, grass, bug, and electric types from gens 2 through 5. So you can't use like your Kanto starters, no Venusaur, no, I about said Squirtle, no Blastoise, no Charizard, as well as like no Alolans. Alolan Sandslash actually is not allowable, but maybe Alolan Executor, like some fun things like that you can't use. Um, so a quick talk about my team. I ran Ferrothorn because Ferrothorn is just really good. It's looking very good this cup. I ran it with Bullet Seed, Power Whip, and Flash Cannon. The other possible move set for Ferrothorn is Thunder, but pretty much anything that you want Thunder for, Power Whip is better. The exception being Mantine. Mantine is going to be everywhere this cup. So like there is definitely a reason to run Thunder, but I would much rather have the Flash Cannon so that I can do neutral damage to other grasses like Jumpluff or Meganium. Um, and then I had my Mantine. So my Mantine is running Wing Attack as its fast move with Bubble Beam and Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is fantastic. I TM'd it off of Ice Beam just to make sure that I could have some super effective damage in my charge move for grass type Pokemons. And I'm running Wing Attack for the super effective fast move damage, as well as being able to deal neutral damage in the mirror. Bubble is a little bit better as a move. It does a little bit more energy and damage, but I think the Wing Attack, just in lieu of its typing, is going to be better this cup. Um, Kingdra is just a fantastic generalist. It tends to show up in any cup it can. Um, it's never super standout, but it's also never bad. You run Dragon Breath as the fast move, and not much resists Dragon Breath this cup. It's pretty much just like Azu and Pharaoh, because it's got to be either Steel or Fairy type, and there's just not many of those. Um, so I'm running Dragon Breath Octazooka, which is a water move that doesn't deal too much damage. However, it does have a 50% chance to drop your opponent's attack by 2 stages, which is fantastic. Then we have Galvan Chula. Galvan Chula is basically the bug Alolan Raichu. Its attack stat is insane, even though it's really squishy. I've got it running Volt Switch, which is the recently buffed, well, recently, a couple months ago buffed electric move. It's got Discharge, which is very spammy, and Bug Buzz, which is also fairly spammy and can hit pretty hard. Um, I brought Swampert in mostly because I was afraid of the Galvantulas. I wanted something that resisted electric moves. So I brought in my Swampert to just kind of spam its way through. I also wasn't necessarily sure how many fires would be in this cup. So it's got Hydro Cannon and Sludge Wave being pumped out by the energy gain of Mudshot. And then last but not least, I brought in Heracross because I was torn between bringing in some sort of fire Pokemon or maybe a fighter to handle Ferrothorn, just specifically Ferrothorn. Um, so I brought in Heracross, who's running Counter, Close Combat, and Mega Horn. Yeah, so that's my team. And we will go ahead and jump in. This is not a terribly long tournament. There were only 10 people. It's unweighted, so it doesn't have a ton of allure, but it's a nice form of practice. And so with only 10 people, we have 4 rounds. So going into my first matchup, I'm against Yamlet, who has a very spicy team. I'm particularly looking at the Houndoom because I don't know what its fast move is. There's a lot of possible options like Bite, Snarl, and Fire Fang. So this lead matchup's not particularly great. Um, I'm kind of worried about all of that Dragon Breath damage getting onto my Mantine because my Mantine looks very good. It doesn't really have any bad matchups. So I get the Bubble Beam on Kingdra to drop its damage and then bring in my own so that my Dragon Breath damage is doing more than his. As you saw, like I chewed through his a lot faster than he was going through mine. He brings in the Meganium, which is probably the best counter to uh, Kingdra this cup. Maybe Azumarill's better, but Meganium is very strong. I tried to get in that Outrage to get the win, but no such luck. I did get the shield though, and decided to just let Kingdra go. I bring in my Flyer, my Mantine, but this Frenzy Plant's still going to be neutral, and Frenzy Plant's just a great move. It's going to hurt. So I'm building up, and I'm just going to go for this Aerial Ace. I want to get rid of this Meganium, because the Meganium is really the only threat to my Swampert, and I want to make sure that my Swampert will be able to get some use this cup. He swaps out, and I tried to also swap out immediately, but no such luck. I let it go, hoping it's not a Outrage, because that would have been very unfortunate. And it isn't, so I swap into my Swampert, and I'm just going to farm it down with Mudshot. It's not a great move, but I've got plenty of time, and I can make use of that energy. However, my attack does get dropped. My Swampert gets debuffed very hard. I'm expecting the Meganium to come in, so I'm going to start tapping that Sludge Wave as fast as I can, and I get it. So the Sludge Wave will be enough to KO the Meganium. Last but not least is the Houndoom. I see it's running Fire Fang, which is honestly fairly nice for me. The dark damage would be largely unresisted in this cup outside of the bugs, but I'm not expecting too many bugs, just because the typing for bugs not great. He does manage to get through my Swampert, but Mantine with the Bubble Beam is going to be more than enough to take it out. So game one, we learned some valuable information. I don't think we saw any charge moves off the Houndoom, but we do know that the moveset is Fire Fang, and it makes me a lot happier to bring my Waters. I just need to make sure to dodge that Meganium. So we're going to go ahead and move into round number 2. Or not round number 2, fight number 2 versus Yamlet. Yeah, so we're going in. I lead my Mantine just because it's as safe as can be, and we get the Sharam. I'm not really worried about Weather Ball. It's going to be resisted. I mostly just don't want to get hit by a Solar Beam. So I'm going to charge up and just take advantage of these super effective wing attacks and go for the Aerial Aces. Aerial Ace isn't going to be enough to KO, but it will do a decent chunk of damage if he lets it through, and he doesn't. He gets out and locks in his Kingdra against my Mantine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay in just a little bit longer to get my Bubble Beam in, and then swap over to my own Kingdra. So now that his is debuffed, I'll be able to deal a lot more damage while taking less. I kind of lose count, and I'm not sure if this is an Octazooka or an Outrage, so I decided to gamble, and I lost. Even debuffed, that super effective Outrage is a lot of damage, and it's more than my Kingdra can take. I come back in with my Swampert, however, fully planning to farm down this Kingdra. I was hoping to get it down before that Octazooka comes in, and now I'm just kind of hoping that there's not going to be a debuff. It hurts a little bit, but more importantly, I do get debuffed again. I'm expecting, once again, the Grass, the Sharam to come back in, so I want to hit that Sludge Wave. I really want to hit that Sludge Wave and maybe knock it out, but Meganium comes in instead. So Yamlet ran double Grass against my double Water team. The Sludge Wave gets blocked, but I do manage to get in my own Mantine. So I have to shield this. A Frenzy Plant would 1000% KO my Mantine at this point. And I'm just going to keep going Aerial Ace, and hopefully I can get another Aerial Ace or even a Bubble Beam before I get KO'd. Actually, no, for a second there I was starting to think maybe I get the KO with just wing attacks, but not yet. So I invest in my last shield to make sure that I get this Meganium down, and I've got the Aerial Ace to throw at the Sharam that's coming back in. And we'll get to see how much an Aerial Ace does. Like, it does, what's that, like 55, 60%? But it's not enough to KO. At this point, even the resisted Weather Ball will be enough to knock me out. However, Sharam is in Hydro Cannon range, and I can get the KO with that. So we are going to end up 2-0 once this Hydro Cannon lands. Yeah. So we are 2-0 in this particular round. We've got it. But we're going to move on to fight number 3. So going in, this Mantine has done me a lot of good, but I want to try something different. I bring in the Kingdra and get really hard countered. I do not like seeing this Meganium. It's just so bulky that the Dragon Breath damage doesn't mean quite as much as I would like it to. And taking these neutral Frenzy Plants just hurts. Look at that. I decide I'm going to go for the outrage and hope I can hit it before I get knocked out, and I can. If this outrage hits, it will knock him out. It will get the KO, and he does not shield it. Maybe he didn't think I got there. Maybe he didn't know how much damage it would do. Um, However, I do manage to win the lead. So against this Vespa Queen, I'm not really sure what I want to do because I am kind of afraid of another grass in the back again. So I bring in my Swampert. Mantine doesn't really have any bad matchups. Uh, and so when he swaps to the Kingdra, I just start throwing Sludge Waves. Um, these Sludge Waves will be neutral. It'll definitely hurt the Kingdra. Right now, I don't quite think an Octazooka would kill me, but it would definitely bring me really close to dead. However, once that comes through, I switch into my own Mantine, and I just want to do my best to get all the way through this. I try and bait, even though I didn't go all the way up to Aerial Ace. I'm trying to get this Bubble Beam, hoping I can pull a shield, but no luck. However, his attack is dropped, which makes me a little bit less afraid of what's going to hit me. Um, it's just an Octazooka. An Outrage probably would have killed me, actually. But now I'm just going to go straight for this Aerial Ace. I want to make sure that this Kingdra disappears. Um, yeah. I honestly am not quite sure what this Vespa Queen has. I am expecting X Scissor and Power Gem because that's what I ran back in Jungle a long time ago. Um, so now I am just going to start debuffing. I don't really care about getting the shield, but I do get it, which is nice. It was very nice. And I'm going to try and get to another Bubble Beam or maybe an Aerial Ace even. But he gets the charge move, and it's just an X Scissor. It doesn't do much because it's resisted. And he gets to another X Scissor right before I can get off this Bubble Beam. However, the Vespiquen's low, and I have a Hydro Cannon already locked and loaded. I'm hoping it's going to be enough to KO the Vespiquen, but not quite. Still, the energy generation of Mudshot is absolutely insane, and I get to another one before this fight is over. Yeah, so we end up we get the sweep in round one, and we are off to a good start for this tournament. Moving on to round two, I'm against Captain X24 with a really spicy team with the Cast Form and Shiftry in there. So this lead's not good for me because Ferrothorn actually resists the Dragon Breath damage that Kingdra is relying on. I swap to my Galvan Chula because Galvan Chula will resist anything that the Ferrothorn throws at me. I still don't want to take it. That would have done about half health. But I now have a very large energy advantage over his Galvan Chula when he brings it in. I try to bait with this discharge, and he just takes it. And at that point, I figure, hey, another discharge will probably kill him. It might leave him 1 volt switch short. So I throw it, and I get the shield this time. I am pretty sure he's only at discharge, so I take it. And we're going to race to this next discharge, and I barely get it in. I think that might have been a CMP type because I don't see another Volt Switch animation coming to hit me. However, he takes it, doesn't want to give up that second shield, and dies. He does manage to farm me down with Bullet Seeds before I get to another discharge. That would have been very nice to get to another move. So against this Ferrothorn, I'm going to bring in my own Mantine. He switches to his Mantine, and I immediately swap out because I'm just happy to have my Kingdra on anything that is not Ferrothorn. His Mantine uses Bubble Beam. Bubble Beam's already a very low attack move, but it does reduce the damage of my Dragon Breath. Yeah, so I'm going to just go straight for this Outrage and see how much damage I can get in. And it goes in unshielded. At this point, I know that I can just farm down this Mantine. Even if he hits me with the Aerial Ace, he should die to Dragon Breath before he reaches another Aerial Ace. With this with this Ferrothorn coming in, I was really hoping he'd try and farm me down. I'd get an Octazooka off before I die, but no such luck. I get up to that Aerial Ace and throw this Bubble Beam, hoping to pull his shield. I need to get rid of that shield for me to chew through this. No such luck. I'm going to go ahead and shield this no matter what it is, simply because at this point I'm planning on doing another Bubble Beam to debuff him. And I learned that he has Thunder. Thunder is honestly a terrifying move for me to see as Mantine because it will flip this match. Um, I get another Bubble Beam in, and I get his shield, which is important. However, this is a Thunder. Thunder is going to be double super effective, and thanks to the 2 debuffs I just got, it's not quite enough. My Mantine manages to get to the Aerial Ace, which I'm hoping kills this Ferrothorn, and it does. Yeah, so we win the first game by just the slimmest of margins, but we did learn a valuable lesson, which is that Ferrothorn has Thunder. Um, that is a very valuable lesson, particularly if we end up in a Ferrothorn mirror, because the Flash Cannon one wins, I believe. So we lead off again, and both of us decided we liked the way things worked last time, and we try it again. So now he swaps in much faster to get his own Galvan Chula, and I throw a Bug Buzz. I'm not going to lie, I wasn't entirely certain if Bug resisted Bug, but I knew that at most it would be single resisted, and it's just a better move than Discharge, and so I threw it. Turns out Captain also didn't know that if Bug resisted Bug or not. We chatted about it afterward, and so he took it, and Galvan Chula one-shots another Galvan Chula with a Bug Buzz. So that's about, now that you can see about how much damage a Power Whip does, we're going to throw a Bug Buzz at this Ferrothorn. Bug Buzz is neutral damage against Ferrothorn because it's super effective to the grass and resisted by the steel, whereas the Discharge would be resisted by the grass and nothing else. So Bug Buzz really, really hurts that Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn. So I bring in my Mantine to try and farm down his, but he swaps out. I start debuffing his Mantine. Throw in 1 Bubble Beam and then swap out. That's kind of going to be a recurrent theme of this match, actually, or at least the play with Mantine, which is if someone swaps into my Mantine, I can drop a Bubble Beam on the way out so that they are at least reduced for whatever I decide to swap in. It will change the math of a lot of different scenarios, and I am very happy to try and make people more uncomfortable. Additionally, this Octazooka that just landed also got the debuff. So I'm piling on all of this Dragon Breath damage, and the Octazooka dropped the attack of his Mantine by 2 more stages. So it is now a triple debuffed Mantine, and I'm just going to farm. I'm watching for the swap, and when it comes through, I just throw an Octazooka. If he doesn't shield, it's going to KO. If he does shield, the Dragon Breaths are going to KO. But he does manage to get in a Power Whip. At this point, though, I still have all of my shields, and it's just a matter of Dragon Breathing down. Yeah. And his Mantine also gets off another charge move, but I can shield it and Dragon Breath away. That's the power of Kingdra, is just Dragon Breath does so much damage. It's such a good move. Even if you will almost never get to Outrage, you might get to it once or twice, but with the double debuff of Octazooka and the Dragon Breath damage, he can do quite a lot of work. So we have now taken round 2, and we're going to move on to the third fight of round 2, because you should always play your third fights. So apparently we both decided we really liked our teams, and we ran it for the 3rd time. This is actually one of my favorite sets, probably my favorite set from this tournament, because all 3 are the exact same fight, the exact same team, but they play out very differently, and they can show like exactly what different decisions will put in. So once again, I eat the Power Whip, and I decide that after trying to scare Captain with all of the damage of Bug Buzz last fight, that he'd probably be willing to invest a shield to avoid it this time. And I managed to bait with the Discharge. I have to shield this Power Whip because it would KO me, and I'm going to throw in this Bug Buzz, which I hope is enough to kill his Ferrothorn. It's not quite there, however, now I'm just hoping that that Volt Switch will do it, but he manages to get in another Power Whip right under the Volt Switch that I was sending to him. However, I now have a decent amount of energy on my Galvan Chula, and I'm going to go straight for this Bug Buzz. Because either my Galvan Chula will one-shot his, or I will get that other shield. And I believe I'm about to die, but I go ahead and swap out because I don't really want to take that damage. I'm not sure if I just managed to catch a charge move or if he threw Discharge intentionally. But Bug Buzz is just a better move than Discharge. It'll do more damage, and it is more energy efficient. Um, and so that probably would have KO'd my Kingdra in this situation. However, my Kingdra does survive and gets to finish off his Galvan Chula. So now we're in an interesting situation where I have a Mantine and like a really slim bit of health on my own Galvan Chula, which means that I can clear this debuff that he just put on me because the debuffs disappear whenever you swap out. Um, so my plan is maybe I debuff him once, maybe I debuff him twice, and then I will swap out. And then, especially if he debuffs me twice, I'll be able to come in fresh. I mean, fresh minus whatever health, but fresh. But he starts figuring out what he needs to do and throws in the aerial ace, and he's just going to try and get the damage in on me. I probably should have also been throwing aerial aces the whole time, just to be completely honest. Um, and I'm watching for him to do a charge move so that I can swap in my Galvan Chula to try and get off one, maybe two volt switches. But he does a very good job of building up extra energy so that he is not caught off guard by that. Um, he does throw the aerial ace against my Mantine, and I swap in my Galvan Chula. He only takes one volt switch before getting off a charge move, but look at that damage. It does so much. And at this point, he's just one wing attack shy of falling to my own Mantine that's coming back in. So we are now 2-0 in this tournament, and 6-0 in games. This is honestly fantastic. I'm very happy with it. So we're moving on to round number 3. Round number 3 is against Imzal. He is a local, he's the admin of the server. He's the TM. He does a lot for PvP in Chicago. And he's a good friend of mine, so it's always nice. So I lead Kingdra into the jump left, and I'm not entirely certain how this matchup goes. I know it has Energy Ball, and I don't want to get hit by that, but I don't necessarily know how much damage it does. So I block this first one, and it is the Energy Ball. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go straight for this Outrage, and hopefully he'll think I'm bluffing. But he does shield it. That probably would have KO'd. I can't imagine that it wouldn't have. Um, so I shield again. I'm expecting another Energy Ball. And I'm starting to wonder, like, should I go for the Octazooka? Should I go for the Outrage? But he gets Cold Feet and swaps out. So I throw this. I throw my own Octazooka, hoping to get that debuff on my way out, and I swap to my Ferrothorn. I would have loved to have had my Ferrothorn in a mirror match where his was debuffed twice. That would have been about as great of a situation as I could have asked for. Instead, I do catch a Power Whip, which I feel like it might have been a mistake, since I don't have shields. Power Whip is double resisted. Flash Cannon is definitely the move to use here. And I think he starts using Flash Cannon from here out. So we also learned that his is Flash Cannon, unlike the Thunder that we just fought last round. I'm going to keep going for the Flash Cannon, and I know it's going to be close, but I really hope that this is enough to take out his Ferrothorn, and it's not quite there. I try and farm it down, and he gets to another charge move. This Bullet Seed energy gain is crazy. But it's a Power Whip. It's not a Flash Cannon, so we are fine. Right now I'm expecting the jump left to come back in, and I'm hoping that I can get off a Flash Cannon before he hits an Aerial Ace. I don't even get off this Bullet Seed, I don't think. Like, I saw the energy go up, but I don't think the damage ticked, and down I go. So I bring in my Mantine, and I'm just going to try and farm down this jump left, but he swaps out. When he swaps out, I go ahead and throw a Bubble Beam to debuff his Mantine, and we're back in the same situation again. Debuffed Mantine versus a Kingdra. So right now I'm not entirely certain if I should be hitting Outrage or Octazooka, and it probably depends on how much damage he does. He throws an Ice Beam, which I was not expecting, and it keeps me from hitting anything. So I am down a shield, but he has a now double debuffed, well, about to be double debuffed Mantine, and a jump left that is very low in the back. So I just need to make sure that I can barely slip through here. So that Ice Beam doesn't do much anymore. His Mantine has been very severely handicapped. So I farm up a little bit, try and get to this Aerial Ace right before he's going to get to a charge move, and I do a terrible job. I missed, what, 2 bubbles there? He doesn't shield. I'm not sure if he was expecting another Bubble Beam, but at this point, I can just farm down this jump off. Though that Energy Ball did really scare me. That did a lot of damage, but not quite enough to finish me off with the Bullet Seeds. So we are going to move on to the second fight here. Uh, I saw that jump bluff in that first game, and it was very scary. I have to make sure I have a plan for it, so I bring in Galvan Chula. Galvan Chula is going to do a lot of damage. Even though this electric is neutral, Galvan Chula's attack stat is absolutely insane. And Imzal goes ahead and swaps out. So I throw this Bug Buzz, and I'm not entirely certain if I want to swap out or not. But I figure, hey, this is a pretty decent matchup. I still have Mantine in the back, and I think it's Mantine and Kingdra in the back here. And I don't really want either of those to go into his Ferrothorn when I can just keep throwing Bug Buzzes. So I throw another Bug Buzz. I don't really feel like baiting because I don't want my bluff to get called. This time I have to actually shield the Power Whip that's coming through because it will knock me out. And I am kind of thinking that I can farm down this Ferrothorn, but not quite. So I have to decide whether I'm going to invest in my second shield or not, and I do. So I'm now down a shield, but I will be up on switch advantage, and Galvantula is going to win the CMP tie for whatever comes in, unless it's his own Galvantula. But I'm going to go ahead and throw this Bug Buzz. I just want to make sure that whatever comes in takes a lot of damage. I throw my Bug Buzz and immediately swap out, because I want this... I don't want my Galvantula to get farmed down and have this jump bluff with a lot of energy. So my Mantine is trying to bluff, but I was aiming for the jump bluff. He swaps out the Galvantula, and if I hadn't been bluffing, that Aerial Ace would have done so much damage. That would have been fantastic. Actually, no, Aerial Ace would have been neutral. Still would have done a decent chunk of damage. I forgot that Electric resists flying. But I get it fairly low, and I'm trying to go through his Galvantula with my Kingdra. And he throws discharges. I'm not entirely certain why. I talked about it afterwards with him, and it seems like it was just like general consensus that we didn't know that Bug Buzz is the better move, but he does barely get it in. My Galvantula manages to farm down his, but with shields, with Imzal having a shield, there's not much I can do. I'm honestly probably could have died to Bullet Seed Farm there. So we have now dropped our first game. Moving on to game 3. It is a decisive game 3 versus Imzal. So I lead my Ferrothorn this time, and he leads Jump Bluff once again. I'm fairly happy with this matchup. This Flash Cannon's going to do a decent chunk of damage to his Jump Bluff, and his Jump Bluff is going to be doing Aerial Ace back. So it's not a great move, but it is very fast. I'm pretty sure he overcharged that first one. So he's going to make up for the low damage with the spam ability. However, I'm already starting to draw shields, and I'm very happy to have a shield advantage. There's a lot you can do with a shield advantage in this cup, especially with things like Kingdra, who can just run with straight damage. So I think I missed a steel bubble there too, which is unfortunate. And still have not burned any shields, but we're almost even on health now. At this point, I am going to start burning shields because I feel pretty good about this matchup, and I want to hit this last Flash Cannon without being too low. Yeah, so that last Flash Cannon does a lot, but leaves the Jump Bluff just standing in this CMP tie, and he's going to be able to hit me with another Aerial Ace. However, I'm going to get it down with 1, maybe 2 Bullet Seeds. Looks like 2. So I've got a little bit of energy for whatever comes in, which is his own Ferrothorn. So we're just going to keep throwing Flash Cannons. I'm pretty sure I've used more Flash Cannon than Power Whip this cup. We're going to keep going. He builds up a little bit more energy, and this should be a Power Whip. Even if it is double resisted, it's going to be enough to kill me as low as my Ferrothorn is. So I have to bring in my Mantine because Kingdra just doesn't really want to see this matchup. And I'm going to do my best to protect this Mantine because I don't know what he has in the back. So I go to bait with the Bubble Beam again, and he swaps to the Galvantula again. And I have to bring out my own Kingdra. At this point, my Kingdra should lose this matchup. However, I believe Imzal tries to go for 2 discharges. He gets 1, and I think he was just getting to the second one as I get my Octazooka off. Or maybe it's this one. I talked to him afterwards, and I think he died right before he got it off. I'm trying to get to this Octazooka to lower the Ferrothorn's health, but not quite there. However, my almost full health Mantine should do very well, even though this Power Whip hurts. However, Ferrothorn had a lot of health, so another Power Whip is coming in, and that's going to leave my Mantine very low. And I just need to hit this Aerial Ace before I get farmed down with Bullet Seeds, and I barely get there. Hopefully it's enough damage, and it is. So, in 3 really close games, we managed to take it. We are now 3-0 in the tournament. Um, at this point, I've actually locked up first place. I didn't realize it at the time because I wasn't paying much attention to the bracket, but I was the only undefeated player left. And so we go up against Burnibus, who is trying to win to force a very large tie. So we are up against Burnibus, and it's Kingdra into Jumpluff again. Uh, there's a lot of Jumpluff in these last 2 fights, and it has sold me on how good Jumpluff is. So I'm going to go once again, do exactly what I did with Emzal. I'm going to shield, and then I'm going to go for the Outrage. So we block it, we get to the Outrage, we farm a little bit more, make him think I'm bluffing, and then I bluff. Not going to lie, I thought I was going to do an Outrage too. And he did too. We got the call, but no debuff. That debuff would have been fantastic for me. I did not get many debuffs this tournament. I block the Energy Ball again, and I'm going to keep farming. I'm going to go for the Outrage. I'm honestly not sure how much Octazooka would have done, but I wanted to make sure that this Jump Bluff died. Octazooka might have been the right move there. I'm not sure. He brings his Ferrothorn in, and I'm going to go for this Octazooka. Hopefully I get it before his Power Whip, but no such luck. I keep dying right before I get off my charge moves. Yeah, that Power Whip's plenty enough to kill. So I bring in my Mantine because I do not want this Swampert to see his Ferrothorn. However, I have no shields, and I'm in a rough spot because that Ferrothorn's going to be able to do a lot to me. I'm watching for the swap, but it happens anyways when I wasn't paying attention. Or I guess I was paying attention, but he swaps in after I've decided, oh, he's not going to swap. And I would have loved to have gotten a Bubble Beam instead, but I need to bring in my Swampert. I brought in the Swampert because I saw the Galvan Chula and the Blaziken on his side, and so I figured that's 2 very solid matchups, and especially with Sludge Wave, you can kind of sneak through on pretty much everything else that isn't Ferrothorn. So that Sludge Wave did a very large amount of damage. And now I want my Swampert to get fairly low before I try and finish this off, because I don't really want to get farmed down by his Ferrothorn. So I go for the Hydro Cannon, hoping that he would shield, but no such luck. And as such, I have to go ahead and immediately throw another one to get the KO. I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have let him KO me and then tried to farm down his Mantine with mine. Instead, I miss my swap and let the Ferrothorn get off 1 or 2 Bullet Seeds, and it's game over. This Ferrothorn is running right through my team. So we are now down in our set, and we're going into game number 2 against Burnibus. I have to figure out what I'm going to do about this Jumpluff and the Ferrothorn. So I catch a terrible lead here. Mantine into Galvan Chula is about as bad as it gets. I didn't want to swap straight to Swampert because I didn't want him to swap to a Ferrothorn and have me locked in. Instead, I swapped to a slightly better matchup with Ferrothorn. It's not great, but I'll take it. I aim to hit a Power Whip on his Galvan Chula, but he does another fantastic swap and instead eats that Power Whip with his Ferrothorn. So now I'm already very far behind. That Galvan Chula has a ton of energy, and I managed to waste a Power Whip's worth of energy into his Ferrothorn. And we're going to just keep trading Flash Cannons back and forth. I built up a little bit of energy because I thought I was a little bit further ahead than he was. um, and he hits that flash cannon. So I swap out. I brought in my uh, Heracross this time. It just chews right through Ferrothorn. Um, I think this is the only time I bring in Ferrothorn this cup, and he he brings in Mantine. So Mantine's wing attacks, even if they're not doing too much damage, are gonna just go right through my Heracross because it is double super effective. Uh, there, I probably should have charged up a bit more and then gone for the double close combat instead of the Mega Horn. Um, so I probably could have played that better, but I don't think it would have made a difference in this game. I brought in my Mantine without waiting out the clock, without waiting out the switch clock. And as such, he gets a debuff on my Mantine and then swaps out. And I have to take a couple Volt switches without being able to do anything. I swap into my Ferrothorn to throw a Power Whip right as I die, but this is game over. Like, I can shield this, but I'm not going to be able to do anything against this Galvan Chula who has tons of energy. Yeah. Like, he could have farmed me down and been just fine. I just got absolutely steamrolled in that game. So we're moving on to the last game of the tournament, the last fight of the tournament against Burnibus, and I'm just trying to avoid the sweep. I'm usually a big fan of not getting swept. Even when I lose, I really want to lose 2-1. So we're going to go in, and we know we need an answer to Ferrothorn and Galvan Chula. We have the same lead as we did the first game. The first game I threw Outrage and Octazooka, but I swap out this time in an attempt to catch a charge move, hopefully catching an energy ball on my Ferrothorn, and we get there. It's a lot of energy from that jump left wasted. So now we're going to keep taking Aerial Aces, and I'm kind of watching for the swap, but it doesn't come in, which tells me that there is no Blaziken. Blaziken would have ruined my day right now. Yeah. So we managed to land a Flash Cannon, and I'm going to build up a bit more energy, but I'm not entirely certain if I should be doing Flash Cannon or Power Whip it as low as this jump left is. So I get a few more, and I just decided to go Flash Cannon because I don't really want to risk it. I really don't want to throw Power Whip, have him not shield it, and then not die. At this point, it's starting to get a little closer, and I want to make sure that jump left dies. I want to try and have a shield advantage, and I'm going to go for that Flash Cannon one more time. So hopefully this Flash Cannon KOs. If not, I'm not entirely certain what I'm going to do. But it does. So we now have a shield advantage, and we effectively have the switch advantage too, since he didn't swap out and the swap timer is gone. His Mantine does farm me down, however, but I have my Galvan Chula in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and shield this because I don't want to get hit by an Aerial Ace if it's there, but it's just a Bubble Beam. And he brings out his Ferrothorn. I throw a Bug Buzz into this, and I have to decide what matchup I want my Kingdra to be in. I don't know if I want my Kingdra into this Ferrothorn or not, but the Ferrothorn lowered its health. Like, it took that Bug Buzz, and so I'm much happier to have my Kingdra in here, and I really want to make sure that my Galvan Chula stays on that Mantine. I try to get the debuff with Kingdra, with the Octazooka, maybe even get a shield, but I don't get the shield. So I'm going to farm down and really, really hope I can kill it, but no such luck. However, I do still have that Galvan Chula. Galvan Chula is not going to be debuffed anymore. The Bubble Beam from earlier is going to be cleared, and I managed to farm down this Ferrothorn. So right now I'm having to decide, can I hit 2 discharges, or should I just go Volt Switch all the way? So I'm counting, and I think I can just kill it with farming down, and I do. So we managed to avoid the sweep. That's all it takes. And Burnibus managed to force the tie. So this tournament ends up a 4-way tie between myself and then my rounds 1, 2, and 4 opponents. Sorry, Inslaw. So I like to think that I had a pretty tough matchup going all the way through, and we did very well. Talking about what we did, Ferrothorn felt great, Mantine felt great, Kingdra was surprisingly very useful. Galvan Chula, when it worked, was amazing. I could see there being situations where it might not work, but I didn't run into much fire, so maybe someone plays Camera Upt, which will resist the bug and the electric. But it felt great. Uh, Swampert felt very average. I'm not entirely certain how I felt. Like it did well sometimes and it did poorly sometimes, but like it was a lot more of I had to make sure that I didn't fall into a bad matchup. Like if my Swampert had ever been locked in versus that Meganium or Ferrothorn, it would have been very difficult to dig out of that hole. Um, Heracross, like I only brought it in one game. It didn't really do that great, and whenever I was building my teams, I never really wanted to bring it in. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do there. I might throw in my own Jumpluff and see how that goes. Um, I might swap over the Swampert to something. It's still really early. We're gonna see what happens. However, GG's to all of my opponents, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this as well. If you did, like and subscribe the video. Well, like the video and subscribe to me. There will hopefully be more of these videos coming out soon. Um, that helps other people also discover my content, and the more people that like it, the more incentivized I am to keep spreading, to keep sharing all of this with you guys. Also, if you want to catch me live, I do a lot of Silph Cup practice on stream. You can join me up on Twitch TV/eFelici. Uh, Lately, I've started putting the stream also on YouTube, but there's live music if you catch me online, and we can chat. And I'd love to answer your questions or talk or just hang out. Anyhow, thank you, and good luck in the rest of your fights.